Hey, welcome back to Adult Brain, Adult Brain Audiobooks. Good morning. I'm Graham, one of the narrators. Today, we're going to be doing another experimental live read of. We're going to continue on with the MAGUS from 1801, written by Francis Barrett. The subtitle is Celestial Intelligencer, a complete system of occult philosophy. So we are in book 2, part 2, which is the perfection and key of the Cabala or ceremonial magic. So this is where it gets into the, I'd say more of the grimoire type part. And so there is, sort of a caveat or warning up here. This is for information and educational purposes only. We don't recommend or condone, I mean, whatever you want to do, but we don't recommend doing anything that's in this book, practicing anything that's in this book. So yeah, we'll jump into it. This is how I do it. This is kind of how the sausage is made, just to show you the human element of it. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to edit it as I go. Hopefully this should be a fairly smooth couple chapters here. Probably half of this part 2 will be done today. There's kind of like a bunch of small chapters, not really chapters like they were before, but just sort of subheadings. So I'll go through and edit it as I go. Hopefully it'll be smooth enough here. And I'm going to just do a test here quickly. See why that's not working. See? Uh-oh. So something's not working. I'm going to try and open up a new one of these. I'll try a new one. See what happens. Okay, there we go. Just got to make sure those keys are working. So let's see here. Yeah. Okay, it's working here. So I'm going to start. Let me see. How am I going to read this book 2, part 2? Excuse me. I have to try and snort less and cough less. Part 2. The perfection and key of the Cabala, or ceremonial magic. In this last book, which we have made the perfection and key of all that has been written, we have given thee the whole and entire practice of ceremonial magic, shewing what is to be done every hour of the day, so that as by reading what we have heretofore written thou shalt contemplate in theory, here thou shalt be made perfect by experiment and practice. For in this key you may behold, as in a mirror, the distinct functions of the spirits and how they are to be drawn into communication in all places, seasons, and times. This, then, is to be known that the names of the intelligent presidents of every one of the planets are constituted after this manner. That is to say, by collecting together the letters of the figures of the world from the rising of the body of the planet, according to the succession of the signs through the several degrees, and out of the several degrees from the aspects of the planet himself, the calculation being made from the degree of the ascendant. In like manner are constituted the names of the princes of the evil spirits. They are taken under all the planets of the presidents in a retrograde order, the projection being made contrary to the succession of the signs from the beginning of the 7th house. Now the name of the supreme and highest intelligence, which may suppose to be the soul of the world, is collected out of the 4 cardinal points of the figure of the world, after the manner already delivered. And by the opposite and contrary way is known the name of the great demon or evil spirit under the 4 cadent angles. In like manner you shall understand the names of the great presidential spirits ruling in the air, and from the 4 angles of the succedent houses, so as to obtain the names of the good spirits. The calculation is to be made according to the succession of the signs, beginning from the degree of the ascendant, and to attain the names of the evil spirits by working the contrary way. You must also observe that the names of the evil spirits are extracted as well from the names of the good spirits as of the evil. So notwithstanding that if we enter the table with the name of a good spirit of the 2nd order, the name of the evil shall be extracted from the order of princes and governors. But if we enter the table with the name of a good spirit of the 3rd order, or with the name of an evil spirit, a governor, after what manner soever they are extracted, whether by this table or from a celestial figure, the names which do proceed from hence shall be the names of the evil spirits, the ministers of the inferior order. It is further to be noted that as often as we enter this table with the good spirits of the second order, the names extracted are of the second order. And if under them we extract the name of an evil spirit, he is of the superior order of the governors. The same order is if we enter with the name of an evil spirit of the superior. If therefore we enter this table with the names of the spirits of the third order, or with the names of the ministering spirits, as well of the good spirits as of the evil, the names extracted shall be the names of the ministering spirits of the inferior order. But many magicians, men of no small authority, will have the tables of this kind to be extended with Latin letters, so that by the same tables also, out of the name of any office or effect, might be found out the name of any spirit, as well good as evil, by the same manner which is above delivered, by taking the name of the office or of the effect in the column of letters in their own line under their own star. And of this practice Trismegistus is a great author, who delivered this kind of calculation in Egyptian letters. Not improperly also may they be referred to the letters of other tongues, for the reason assigned to the signs. For truly he is extent of all man who have treated concerning the attaining of the names of spirits. Therefore the force, secrecy, and power, in what manner the sacred names of spirits are truly and rightly found out, consisteth in the disposing of vowels, which make the name of a spirit, and wherewith is constituted the true name and right word. Now this art is thus perfected and brought to pass. First, we are able to heed the placing of vowels of the letters, which are found by the calculation of the celestial figure, to find the names of the spirits of the second order, presidents and governors, and this in the good spirits is thus brought to effect by considering the stars which do constitute and make the letters, and by placing them according to their order. First, let the degree of the 11th house be subtracted from the degree of that star which is in first. All right, so I'm going to expand this out and redo that one sentence there. That was a pretty long roll. Hopefully I can keep this up without a lot of mistakes. First, let the degree of the 11th house be subtracted from the degree of that star which is first in order, and that which remains thereof, let it be projected from the degree of the ascendant, and where the number ends there is part of the vowel of the first letter. Begin therefore to calculate the vowels of these letters according to their number and order, and the vowel which falls in the place of the star, which is the first in order, the same vowel is attributed to the first letter. Then afterwards thou shalt find the second part of the letter. All right, got to redo that. I'm losing my focus here. So we are going to show a table later with this, so it makes a little more sense. And take this at the semicolon there. Scroll up a little bit while I can. Then afterwards thou shalt find the part of the second letter by subtracting the degree of a star, which is the second in order from the first star, and that which remains cast from the ascendant. And this is the part from which you shall begin the calculation of vowels. And that vowel which falls upon the second star, the same as the vowel of the second letter. And so consequently thou mayest just redo that quickly. Let's see where this record level is up at least to 44. And so consequently thou mayest search out the vowels of the following letters by always subtracting the degree of the following star from the degree of the star next proceeding and going before. I'm going to redo that. Preceding, I got it wrong here. And so consequently thou mayest search out the vowels of the following letters by always subtracting the degree of the following star from the degree of the star next preceding and going before. And likewise all calculations and numerations in the names of the good spirits ought to be made according to the succession of the signs. And whereas in calculating the names of the evil spirits, the names of the good spirits are taken from the degree of the 11th house, in these ought to be taken the degree of the 12th house. And all numerations and calculations may be made with the succession of the signs by taking the beginning from the degree of the 10th house. But in all extractions by tables, the vowels are placed after another manner. In the first place is taken the certain numbers of letters, making the name itself, and is thus numbered from the beginning of the column of the first letter, or whereupon the name is extracted. And the letter on which this number falleth is referred to the first letter of the name extracted, by taking the distance of the one from the other, according to the order of the alphabet. But the number of that distance is projected from the beginning of that column, and where it ends there is part of the first vowel. From thence thou shalt calculate the vowels themselves, in their own number and order in the same column. And the vowel which shall fall upon the first letter of a name, the name shall be attributed to that name. Now thou shalt find the following vowels by taking the distance from the preceding vowel to the following, and so consequently according to the succession of the alphabet. And the number of that distance is to be numbered from the beginning of his own column, and where he shall seize, there is part of the vowel sought after. From thence there must you calculate the vowels. I'm just going to redo that one first. From thence, therefore, must you calculate the vowels, and as we have said above, excuse me. From thence, therefore, must you calculate the vowels, as we have above said, and those vowels which you shall fall upon your own. Having a problem in this sentence. From thence, therefore, must you. From thence, therefore, must you calculate the vowels, as we have above said, and those vowels which shall fall upon your own letters are to be attributed to them. If therefore any vowel should happen to fall upon a vowel, the former must be given place to the latter. And this you are to understand only of the good spirits. In the evil spirits, likewise, you may proceed in the same way, except only that you make the numerations after a contrary and backward order, contrary to the succession of the alphabet and contrary to the order of the columns, that is to say, ascending. The name of the good angels and of every man, which we have before taught how to find out, according to that manner, is of no little authority, nor of a mean foundation. But now we will give thee some other ways, illustrated with no vain reasons, of whereof is by taking in the nativity the 5 places of Hylek, which being noted, the characters of the letters are projected in their order and number, beginning from Aries, and those letters which fall upon the degrees of the said places, according to their order and dignity disposed and aspected, make the name of an angel. There is also another way wherein they take Almutel, which is the ruling and governing star over the aforesaid 5 places, and the projection is to be made from the degrees of the ascendant, which is done by gathering together the letters falling upon Almutel, which begin. I'm going to cheat that sentence here and just start at the end of that. Which being placed in order according to their dignity make the name of an angel. There is likewise another way used, and very much had observations from the Egyptians. By making calculations from the degree of the ascendant, and by gathering together the letters according to the Almutel of the 11th house, which house they call a good demon, which being placed according to their dignities, the names of the angels are constituted. Now the names of the evil angels are known after the like manner. Uh-oh, my cat's coming. Now the name. I'm going to redo that sentence quickly. Now, the names of the evil angels are known after the like manner, except only that the projections must be performed contrary to the course and order of the succession of the signs. So that in seeking the names of good spirits, we are to calculate from the beginning of Aries. Contrariwise, in attaining the names of evil, we ought to account from the beginning of Libra. And whereas in the good spirits we number from the degree of the ascendant, contrariety in the evil, we must calculate from the degree of the 11th. Wow, why did I say it? Why did I see 11th there? So I'll start contrariety. Contrariety in the evil, we must calculate from the degree of the 7th house. But according to the Egyptians, the name of this angel is collected according to the almutel of the 12th house, which they call an evil spirit. Now, all those rites, which are elsewhere already by us delivered in this book, may be made by the characters of any language, in all which, as we have said before, there is a mystical and divine number, order, and figure, from whence it comes to pass that the same spirit may be called by diverse names. But others are discovered from the name of the spirit himself, of the good or evil, by tables formed to this purpose. Come here. Come here, Mo. Come here. Sorry, I'm being interrupted by the cat. Let's see if I can. Okay, let's try and this purpose. All right, let's see if I can settle her in here. Otherwise, I don't know what to do. She's in a mood. She's got to do it on her own. She cannot be rushed in any way. So this is Mocha. Might as well say hi to the camera, Mocha. There you go. If I keep her out, she's gonna scratch at the door. So it's like a no-win situation. I just have to deal with it, not get frustrated. Okay, back to this. So this chapter is still going here. And we'll get to the table sooner or later where they show examples. I'm reading this from sacredtext.com. I have a backup PDF here, a couple backup PDFs, like a really old one. And I can show you the table right now. This is the PDF here that we're in, so we're probably almost there. There's let me zoom in a bit on that. Characters of the good spirits and the characters of evil spirits right there. Horns, feet, a crest. Interesting. So the cat is settled, so we will continue. Sorry about the delay. Tables formed to this purpose. Check. Now these celestial characters do consist of lines and heads. The heads are 6 according to the 6 magnitudes of the stars, whereunto the planets likewise are reduced. The first magnitude holds a star with the sun or a cross, the second with Jupiter, a circular point, the third with Saturn, a semicircle, a triangle either crooked, round, or acute, the fourth with a Mars, a little stroke penetrating the line, either square, straight, or oblique, the fifth with Venus and Mercury, a little stroke or point with a tail ascending or descending, the sixth with the moon, a point made black, all which you may see in the annexed plate. The heads then being posited according to the sight of the stars of the figure of heaven, then the lines are to be drawn out according to the congruency or agreement of their natures. And this you are to understand of the fixed stars. But in the erecting of the planets, the lines are drawn out, the heads being posited according to their course and nature among themselves. See the plate number 1. So when character is to be found, and there's the plate that we just looked at from the PDF. Check. So when a character is to be found of any celestial image ascending in any degree or face of a sign, which consists of stars of the same magnitude and nature, then the number of these stars being posited according to their place and order, the lines are drawn after the similitude of the image signified, as copiously as the same can be done. But the characters which are extracted according to the name of a spirit are composed by the table following, by giving to every letter that name which agrees to him out of the table. And although it may appear easy to those that apprehend it, yet there is no small difficulty herein, to wit, when the letter of a name falls upon the line of letters or figures, that we may know which figure or which letter is to be taken. And this may thus be known. If a letter falls upon the line of letters, consider of what number this letter may be in the order of the name, as the second or the third, then how many letters that name contains, as 5 or 7, and multiply these numbers one after another by themselves, and treble the product. Then cast the whole thing, being added together from the beginning of the letters according to the succession of the alphabet. And the letter upon which that number shall happen to fall ought to be placed for a character of that spirit. But if any letter of a name fall upon the line of figures, it is thus wrought. Take the number, how many letters. Take the, excuse me. This causes me to burp and to get loose up here in the nasals. Can I scroll up a bit? Okay, there we go. Take the number, how many this letter is in the order of the name, and let it be multiplied by the number of which this letter is in the order of the alphabet. And being added together, divide it by 9, and the remainder will shew the figure or number to be placed in the character. And this may be put either in a geometrical or arithmetical figure of number, which notwithstanding ought not to exceed the number of 9 or 9 angels. See the plate number 2. But the characters which are understood by the revelations of spirits take their virtue from thence, because they are, as it were, certain hidden seals, making the harmony of some divinity. Either they are signs of a covenant entered into, and of a promised or plighted faith, or of obedience. And those characters cannot by any other means be found out. Besides these characters, there are certain familiar figures and images of evil spirits, under which forms they are wont to appear, and yield obedience to those who invoke them. And all these characters and images may be seen in the considerations of each day's business, according to the course of the letters constituting the names of spirits themselves. So that if in any letter So that if in any letter there is found more than the name of one spirit, his image holds the preeminence, the others imparting their own orders. So they which are of the first order, to them is attributed the head, the upper part of the body, according to their own figure. Those which are lowest possess the thighs and feet. So likewise the middle letters do attribute, like themselves, the middle parts of the body, to give the parts that fit. But if there happen on any contrariety, that letter which is the strongest in the number shall bear rule. And if they are equal, they all impart equal things. Moreover, if any name shall obtain any notable character or instrument out of the table, he shall likewise have the same character in the image. We may also attain to the knowledge of the dignities of the evil spirits by the same tables of characters and images. For upon whatsoever spirit falls, got to redo that one. For upon whatsoever spirit falls any excellent sign or instrument out of the table of characters, he possesses that dignity. As if there should be a crown, it shows a kingly dignity. If a crest or plume, a dukedom. If a horn, a country, county. Better redo that. If a horn, a county. If without these there be a scepter, a sword, a forked instrument, it shows rule and authority. Likewise, out of the table of images you shall find them who bear the chief kingly dignity, from the crown judge dignity, and from the instruments rule and authority. Lastly, they which bear a human shape and figure have a greater dignity than those which appear under the forms and images of beasts. They likewise who ride do excel them which appear on foot. And thus, according to all their commixtures, you may judge the dignity and excellency of spirits one before another. Moreover, you must understand that the spirits of the inferior order, of what dignity soever, they are always subject to the spirits of the superior order. Likewise, that it is not incongruent for their kings and dukes to be subject and minister to the presidents of the superior order. Of Magic Pentacles and their composition. We now proceed to speak of the holy and sacred pentacles and seals. For these pentacles are certain holy signs and characters, preserving us from evil chances and events, helping and assisting us to bind, exterminate, and drive away evil spirits, alluring the good spirits and reconciling them to us. These pentacles consist either of characters of good spirits of the superior order, or of sacred pictures of holy letters or revelations, with apt and proper versicles, which are composed either of geometrical figures and holy names of God, according to the course and manner of many of them, or they are compounded of all of them, or many of them. Okay, let me just readjust here. Hopefully the cat is going to stay calm. Or many of them. Okay, this is a long sentence. Can I cheat this sentence? Can I cheat the edits on the sentence, or do I have to go all the way back? Which are composed either of geometrical figures and holy names of God, according to the course and manner of many of them. All right, I'm just going to go back. Sorry about that. This happens at the end of sentences quite a bit. Or of sacred pictures of holy letters. Wow, this is a long one. Sometimes I can cheat it. Sometimes I can cheat it at a comma, but it kind of has to be like a comma where the sentence sort of switches gears, or there's an and. But sometimes these long sentences with many commas, kind of hard to cheat it. Okay, here we go. These pentacles consist either of characters of good spirits of the superior order, or of sacred pictures of holy letters or revelations, with apt and proper versicles, which are composed either of geometrical figures and holy names of God, according to the course and manner of many of them, or they are compounded of all of them, or many of them mixed. The characters which are useful for us to constitute and make the pentacles are the characters of the good spirits, chiefly of the good spirits of the first and second order, and sometimes of the third order. These kind of characters are especially to be named holy. Excuse me. Whatsoever characters of this kind are to be instituted, we must draw about them a double circle. Whatsoever characters of this kind are to be instituted, we must draw about him a double circle, wherein we must write the name of his angel. And if we will add some divine name congruent with his spirit and office, it will be of greater force and efficacy. And if we draw about him any angular figure, according to the manner of his numbers, that is lawful to be done. But the holy pictures which make the pentacles are they which everywhere are. I'm losing my focus here. But the holy pictures which make the pentacles are they which everywhere are. But the holy pictures which make the pentacles are they which everywhere are delivered to us in the prophets and sacred writings, both in the Old and New Testaments, even as the figure of the serpent hanging on the cross and such like, whereof many may be found in the visions of the prophets, as in Isaiah, Daniel, Esdras, and others, and likewise in the revelations of the Apocalypse. And we have before spoken of them in our first part, where we have made mention of holy things. Therefore, where any picture is posited of any of these holy images, let the circle be drawn round it on each side, wherein let there be written some divine name that is apt and conformed to the effect of that figure. Or else there may be written around it some versicle taken out of part of the body of Holy Scripture, which may ascertain or deprecate the desired effect. If a pentacle were to be made to gain a victory or revenge against one's enemies, as well visible as invisible, the figure may be taken out of the second book of the Maccabees, that is to say, a hand holding a golden sword drawn, about which let there be written the versicle there contained, to wit, take the holy sword, the gift of God, wherewith thou shalt slay the adversaries of my people Israel. Or else there may be written about a versicle of the fifth psalm. In this, the strength. in this, in this is the strength of thy arm. Before they face, there is death. Or some other such like versicle. But if you will write a divine name about the figure, then let some name be taken that signifies fear, a sword, wrath, the revenge of God, or some such like name, congruent and agreeing with the effect desired. And if there shall be written any angular figure, let it be taken according to the rule of the numbers, as we have taught where we have treated of numbers and the like operations. And of this sort there are two pentacles of sublime virtue and great power, very useful and necessary to be used in the consecration of experiments and spirits. One whereof is that in the first chapter of the Apocalypse, to wit, a figure of the majesty of God sitting upon a throne, having in his mouth a two-edged sword, as there is described, about which let there be written, I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, which is, and which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. I am the first and the last, who am living and was dead. And behold, I live forever and ever, and I have the keys of death and hell. Then there shall be written about it these three versicles, Munda Deus Virtuti, Tuae, etc. Give commandment, O God, to thy strength. Confirm, O God, thy strength in us. Let them be as dust before the face of the wind, and let the angel of the Lord scatter them. Let all their ways be darkness and uncertain, and let the angel of the Lord persecute them. Moreover, let there be written about it the 10 general names, which are El, Elohim, Eloah, Sabaoth, Ilion, Eskurchi, Adonai, Yah, Tetragrammaton, Sadai. There is another pentacle, the figure whereof is like a lamb slain, having 7 eyes and 7 horns, and under his feet a book sealed with 7 seals, as it is in the 5th chapter of the Apocalypse. Round about let it be written this versicle, Behold, the lion hath overcome of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. I will open the book and unloose the 7 seals thereof. And another versicle, I saw Satan like lightning fall down from heaven. Behold, I have given you the power to tread upon serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of your enemies, and nothing shall be able to hurt you. And let there be also written about it the 10 general names as aforesaid. But those pentacles, which are thus made of figures and names, let them keep this order. For when any figure is posited, conformable to any number, to produce any certain effect or virtue, there must be written thereupon, in all the several angles, some divine name, obtaining the force and efficacy of the thing desired. Yet so, nevertheless, that the name which is of this sort do consist of just so many letters as the figure may constitute a number, or of so many letters of a name as joined together among themselves may make the number of a figure, or by any number which may be divided without any superfluity or diminution. Now, such a name being found, whether it be only one name or more, or diverse names, it is to be written in all the several angles of the figure. But in the middle of the figure, let the revolution of the name be wholly and totally placed, or at least principally. We likewise constitute pentacles by making the revolution of some kind of name in a square table, and by drawing about it a single or double circle, and I'm gonna cheat that sentence. By drawing about it a single or double circle, and Actually, I'm going to redo. I'm not going to cheat that one. I'm just going to redo the whole thing. We likewise. Check. We likewise constitute pentacles by making the revolution of some kind of name in a square table, and by drawing about it a single or double circle, and writing therein some holy versicle competent and befitting this name, or from which that name is extracted. And this is the way of making the pentacles according to their several distinct forms and fashions, which we may, if we please, either multiply or commix together by course among themselves, to work the greater efficacy, extension, and enlargement of force and virtue. As if a deprecation would be made for the overthrow and destruction of one's enemies, we are to mind and call to remembrance how God destroyed the face of the whole earth in the deluge of waters, and the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah by raining down fire and brimstone. Likewise, how the God overthrew Pharaoh and his lost likewise Likewise, how God overthrew Pharaoh and his host in the Red Sea, and to call to mind if any other malediction or curse be found in Holy Writ, and thus in things of the like sort. So likewise in deprecating and praying against perils and dangers of waters, we ought to call to remembrance the saving of Noah in the deluge of waters, the passing of the children of Israel through the Red Sea. And also we are to mind how Christ walked on the waters, and how he saved the ship in danger from being cast away by the tempest, and how he commanded the winds and the waves, and they obeyed him. And also that he drew Peter out of the water, being in danger of drowning, and the like. And lastly, with these we invoke and call upon some certain holy names of God, to wit, such are as to wit, such as are significative, to wit, such as are significative to accomplish our desire and accommodated to the desired effect, as if it to be with. It's struggling with that one. As if it be to, as if it be to overthrow enemies. We are to invoke and call upon names of wrath, revenge, fear, justice, and fortitude of God. And if we would avoid and escape any evil or danger, we then call upon the names of mercy, defense, salvation, fortitude, goodness, and such like names of God. When likewise we pray to God that he would grant us our desires, we are likewise to intermix therewith the name of some good spirit, whether one only or more, whose office it is to execute our desires. And sometimes also we require some evil spirit to restrain or compel, whose name likewise we intermingle, and that rightly, especially if it be to execute any evil work, as revenge, punishment, or destruction. Furthermore, if there be any versicle in the Psalms or any other part of the Holy Scripture that shall seem congruent and agreeable to our desire, the same is to be mingled with our prayers. Now, after prayer has been made to God, it is expedient afterwards to make an oration to that executioner, whom in our I have to redo that one. Now, after prayer, check. Now, after prayer has been made to God, is it expedient? It is expedient. Now, after prayer has been made to God, it is expedient afterwards to make an oration to that executioner, whom in our precedent prayer to God we have desired should administer to us, whether one or more, or whether he be an angel, or star, or soul, or any of the noble angels. But this kind of oration ought to be composed according to the rules which we have delivered in the former part of our work, where we have treated of the manner of the composition of enchantments, etc. You may know farther that these kind of bonds have a threefold difference. For the first bond is when we conjure by natural things. The second is compounded of religious mysteries, by sacraments, miracles, and things of this sort. And the third is constituted by divine names and holy seals. With these kinds of bonds we may bind not only spirits but also other creatures whatsoever, as animals, tempests, burnings, floods of waters, the force and power of arms. Also, we use these bonds aforesaid not only by conjuration, but sometimes also using the means of deprecation and benediction. Moreover, it conduces much to this purpose to join some sentence of Holy Scripture, if any shall be found convenient thereto, as in the conjuration of serpents, by commemorating the curse of the serpent in the earthly paradise, and the setting up of the serpent in the wilderness, and further adding that versicle, "Thou shalt walk upon the asp and the basilisk," etc. Superstition is also of much prevalency herein by the translation of some sacramental rites, to bind that which we intend to hinder, as the rites of excommunication, of sepulchres, funerals, buryings, and the like sort. Of the consecrations of all magical instruments and materials which are used in this art. The virtue of consecrations chiefly consists in two things, viz., the power of the person consecrating and the virtue of the prayer by which the consecration is made. For in the person consecrating, there is a excuse me. Oh, shit. I just deleted it by mistake. Edit, undo, delete, please. Oh, sometimes this doesn't work. See how far I went back. This will be me fixing a live stream of me trying to fix my mistakes. Okay, so I deleted that there. Now, after prayer has been made to God, it is expedient afterwards. Executioner, whom in our precedent. Redo delete and then redo record. Let's see if that does it. For in the person consecrating, there is a fire. Yeah, I did it. Whew, got it back. Not that it's that big of a deal, but for in the person consecrating, there is a required firmness, constancy, and holiness of life. Whoa. What's going on there? So something happened with my record level. All of a sudden it's way up there. Check, 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 check. There we go. So that's a weird anomaly. Okay. For in the person consecrating, there is a for in the person consecrating, there is required firmness, constancy, and holiness of life, and that the consecrator himself shall, with a firm and undubitable faith, believe the virtue, power, and effect thereof. Then, in the prayer by which the consecration is made, it derives its virtue either from divine inspiration or else by composing it from sundry places in the Holy Scriptures, in the commemoration of some sort of wonderful miracles of God, effects, promises, sacraments, and sacramental things, of which we have abundance in Holy Writ. There must likewise be used the invocation of divine names that are significative of the work in hand. Likewise, a sanctifying and expiation which is wrought by sprinkling with holy water. Likewise, a sanctifying and expiation which is wrought by sprinkling with holy water, unctions with holy oil, and odoriferous suffumigations. Therefore, in every consecration, there is generally used a benediction and consecration of water, earth, oil, fire, and suffumigations, etc., with consecrated wax lights or lamps burning. For without lights, no consecration is duly performed. You must therefore particularly observe this, that when anything which we call profane is to be used, in which there is any defilement or pollution, it must first of all be purified by an exorcism composed solely for that purpose, which ought to precede the consecration, which things being so made pure are most apt to receive the influences of the divine virtue. We must also observe that at the end of any consecration, after the prayer is lightly or rightly performed, we must also observe that at the end of any consecration, after the prayer is rightly performed, as we have mentioned, the operator ought to bless the thing consecrated by breathing out some sentence with divine virtue and power of the present consecration, with a commemoration of his virtue and authority, that so it may be the more duly performed and with an earnest and attentive mind. Now I shall mention here some examples that by these a path may be made to the whole perfection thereof. The consecration of water. So, in the consecration of water, we must commemorate that God has placed the firmament in the midst of the waters, and likewise that God placed the fountain of waters in the earthly paradise, from whence sprang 4 holy rivers that watered the whole earth. Likewise, we are to remember that God caused the waters to be the instrument of his justice in destroying the giants by bringing on the deluge which covered the face of the whole earth, and in the overthrow of the host of Pharaoh in the Red Sea, and that God led the children of Israel through on dry land, and through the midst of the river Jordan, and likewise his marvelous drawing water out of the stony rock in the wilderness, and that at the prayer of Samson he caused water to flow out of the jawbone of an ass, and likewise that God has made water the instrument of his mercy and salvation for the expiation of original sin. Also that Christ was baptized in the river Jordan, and hath thereby sanctified and cleansed the waters. Likewise, certain divine names are to be invocated which are conformable hereto, as that God is a living fountain, living water, the fountain of mercy, and the names of the like sort. Consecration of fire. And likewise, in the consecration of fire, we are to commemorate that God hath created the fire to be an instrument to execute his justice, for punishment, vengeance, and the expiation of sins. Also, when God comes to judge the world, that he will command a conflagration of fire to go before him. Likewise, we are to mention that God appeared to Moses in a burning bush, and also how he went before the children of Israel in a pillar of fire, and that nothing can be duly offered, sanctified, or sacrificed without fire. and how that God instituted fire to be kept in continually in the tabernacle of the covenant, and how miraculously he rekindled the same, being extinct, and preserved it elsewhere from going out, being hidden under the waters, and things of this sort. Likewise, the names of God are to be called upon which are consonant to this, as we read in the law and prophets that God is a consuming fire. And likewise, if there are any divine names which signify fire, as the glory of God, the light of God, the splendor and brightness of God, etc. The consecration of oil. And likewise, in the consecration of oil and perfumes, we are to mention such things as are consonant to this purpose, as of the holy anointing oil mentioned in Exodus, and divine names significant thereunto, such as is the name of Christ, which signifies anointed, and whatever mysteries there are relative to oil in the scriptures, as the two olive trees distilling holy oil into the lamps that burn before the face of God, mentioned in Revelations. Of the benedictions of lights, lamps, wax, etc. Now the blessings of the lights, lamps, wax, etc. is taken from the fire, and whatever contains the substance of the flame, and whatever similitudes are in the mysteries, as the 7 candlesticks which burn before the face of God. Sorry, just a sec here. My throat's getting a bit. I'm trying to see what it's a bunch of these small, tiny chapters. So I'm just taking a quick look and see where I'm gonna cut this off here because I'm gonna combine some of these, I think. So consecration of oil, benediction of lights, lamps, ground, invocation of spirits. So let me just remember where I was. So I'm right at that P88 there, just so I don't forget it. So ground circles, that's a bit longer. Invocation. So then I'll probably stop it at invocation. Yeah. So I'll do the consecration, the benediction, and then the consecration, and then I'll stop there. And then that will be the rest of part 2 should be able to do in one thing after this. Okay. So go back to here. Before the face of God. Okay. Check. Therefore, we have given the manner of composing the consecrations, which first of all are necessary to be used in every kind of ceremony, and ought to precede every experiment or work, and without which nothing in magic rites can be duly performed. In the next place, we will shew thee the consecration of places, instruments, and the like things. The consecrations of places, ground, circle, etc. Therefore, when you would consecrate any place or circle, you should take the prayer of Solomon used in the dedication and consecration of the temple. You must likewise bless the place by sprinkling with holy water and with suffumagations, and commemorate in the benediction and holy mysteries, such as these: the sanctification of the throne of God, of Mount Sinai, of the tabernacle of the covenant, of the Holy of Holies, of the temple of Jerusalem, also the My throat's getting pretty raw here. Also, the sanctification of Mount Golgotha. Also, the sanctification of Mount Golgotha by the crucifixion of Christ, the sanctification of the temple of Christ, of Mount Tabor by the transfiguration and ascension of Christ, etc., and by invocating all divine names which are significant to this. Check. Such as a place such as the place of God, the throne of God, the chair of God, the tabernacle of God, the altar of God, the habitation of God, and the like divine names of this sort, which are to be written about the circle or place to be consecrated. And in the consecration of instruments and every other thing that is used in this art, You must proceed after the same manner by sprinkling with holy water the same by fu- I'm gonna cheat it by sprinkling. By, you must proceed after the same manner by sprinkling with holy. You must. Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna cheat it there. You must proceed after the same manner by sprinkling with holy water the same, by fumigation, by anointing with holy oil, sealing it with some holy seal, and blessing it with prayer, and by commemorating holy things out of the sacred scriptures, collecting divine names which are agreeable to the things to be consecrated. As, for example, in the consecration of the sword, we are to remember in the gospel, he that hath two coats, etc. And then in the second of the Maccabees, it is said that a sword was divinely and miraculously sent to Judas Maccabeus. And if there is anything of the like in the prophets, as take unto you two-edged swords, etc. And you shall also in the same manner consecrate experiments and books and whatever of the like nature, as writings, pictures, etc., by sprinkling, perfuming, anointing, scaling, blessing with holy commemorations, and calling to remembrance the sanctification of mysteries, as the table of the Ten Commandments, which were delivered to Moses by God in Mount Sinai, the sanctification of the Old and New Testaments, and likewise of the law, prophets, and scriptures, which were promulgated by the Holy Ghost. And again, there are to be mentioned such divine names as are convenient to this, as these are, viz., the Testament of God, the Book of God, the Book of Life, the knowledge of God, the wisdom of God, and the like. And with such kind of rites as these in the personal consecration, just going to redo that one. And with such kind of rites as these in the personal consecration. And with such kind of rites as these is the personal consecration performed. There are besides these another rite of consecration of great power and efficacy, and this is one of the kinds of superstition, viz., when the rite of consecration or collection of any sacrament in the church is transferred to that thing which we would consecrate. It must be noted that vows, oblations, and sacrifices have the power of consecration also, as well real as personal. And they are, as it were, certain conventions between those names with which they are made and who make them, strongly cleaving to our desire and wished effects, as when we sacrifice certain names. I'm wondering, do I have to go all the way back for that? As when who make them, strongly cleaving to our desire and wished effects, as we them. Yeah, I'm just going to go back. This is the end of the session and the end of this chapter. So, and they are, as it were, certain. Okay, and they are. I can do it from there. And they are, as it were, certain conventions. And they are, as it were. And they are, as it were, certain conventions between those names with which they are made and us who make them, strongly cleaving to our desire and wished effects, as when we sacrifice with certain names or things, as fumigations, unctions, rings, images, mirrors, and some things less material, as characters, seals, pentacles, enchantments, orations, pictures, scriptures, of which we have largely spoken before. All right, okay, that's it for this first half of part 2 of book 2. Looks like it gets a little crazy coming up, of the invocation of evil spirits and the binding of constraining them to appear. I might be able to do that one on Tuesday, go to the end of book part 2, book 2, invocation of the good spirits, particular form of Laman. What's next? And then of oracles by dreams, and then evil or familiars, and then the end of part 2nd. And then after that, exorcism, benedictions, and conjurations. That's when we get into the magic circle. That would be part 3. And then there's part 4. Oh, that's cool. And then book 3, which is the biography. So thanks for watching, listening. How we do it live. I mean, how we do it, how we record it. We are humans here. So yeah, you can check out the catalog on the channel. The live tab has all these little live books from the MAGUS and a couple that I did before. And that's it. Just all our stuff's on Spotify and Audible too. If you consume stuff there, so help us out. Check it out. Really appreciate the support because we're trying to do this as as a living. So thank you very much. I love you. See you maybe Tuesday.